we lost somebody who was like a guiding light, you know, truly. And I can't express that deeply enough. All the people that I watched tonight saying what they were saying about Arif is completely true. I mean, there's nobody sort of blowing smoke, you know. This was the sweetest man you could ever know in your life. And everybody, you excelled because Arif was there. You went to the studio because Arif was there. It just wasn't the same if he wasn't. And he was the kind of person who made you do better than you thought you could do. And that's really the only way to put it. I think, you know what was great about those times? Those times were amazing. Because in those days, the record company president actually cared about whether you made a record or not, you know. And we don't live in that kind of industry anymore. Armadurgican, as somebody pointed out, was always there. When you worked in Atlantic Records, you felt like you were in the greatest hands. You know, you weren't an act making a record. You were actually in very, very competent hands. Yeah. And that's, I'm talking about Ahmed as well as Arif and Jerry Wexler, sure. and how they would come and go and walk in the studio when you're working, sit down for a while and chat, and then leave again. And they'd be listening, Yeah. Today, they're not really listening, you know. It's maybe get a remix. So it's like that. But wonderful days, wonderful times, and for me, as a student, because everything I really know about records comes from studying Arif, you know. And I think a lot of other people, if they were really honest, would say that too. Wow. You know.
That's fascinating.
So, you know, he matured you. He made you mature. He made you grow up. We were so naive. But this room, I think somewhere in this room, maybe in the soundproof room area, was the original little studio. And this room didn't exist. And we'd all work in there for a period, during main course especially, where the speaker was at the side of you. It wasn't right in front of you, it was actually one side of you. And so we overrode that. No matter what we were doing, we got over it, you know. And what am I doing? Sorry? I used to be in the ceiling. So in this room there'd be Leonard Skinner,
right.
The Eagles, or
yeah.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I remember playing all night in what is now this room with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, with nothing you could actually show as being any good, but playing all night nevertheless. Wow. So there's so many different artists here at the one time, and it wasn't like it is today. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but artists don't visit each other like they used to. You know?
Well, not in proximity.
Right.
Working in the same places the way it used to be.
We'd be doing the vocals for Children of the World, and Crosby, Stills and Nash would be sitting in the corner, watching. You know, and that's overwhelming. You know, but in those days it was everybody was in everybody's room. So
there was things that I learned after I interviewed Robin, which I wasn't completely aware of, and maybe you could talk about it. That famous story about when you started main course. And you worked for a little bit, and Arif said, I'm going to go to New York for a week. And did he sort of say, listen to R&B radio, check this out, check that out? Was there sort of a...
No, we never really, it wasn't really about listening to what was going on the radio. It was really about drawing ourselves away from the sense of the Beatles, right. Drawing ourselves away from the psychedelic situation that was going on in the late 60s. And trying to transcend that, or trying to get away from that, if that's the right term. And we loved the stylistics and groups like that. We loved Frankie Valli. We didn't know there was a falsetto amongst us.
Right.
Well, the falsetto, please stand up. My perspective is that Arif said, we were doing nights on Broadway, and he said, can one of you go out and scream? You know. And that was actually
screaming too.
What I remember his words, Can you scream in tune? You know. Oh yeah, we had done. a song called Please Read Me on the
Yes, I was going to ask you about Please Read Me.
And we'd used a lot of falsetto in those days, but it didn't mean anything at that point, you know. It was just we were trying to emulate the Beach Boys, right? And something that every group probably has to confess to. And so I was the volunteer, and it just worked out that way. I went out there and suddenly started doing that. So I went out there and screamed. There was another point I was going to make, but I can't remember what it was now. But he was the man. He was the catalyst for whatever you did. He would just say, go out and try it.
Yeah.
But go out and do it now.
Yeah.
You know, not tomorrow night.
Right.
Now.
Right.
And so that was his impatience. I think I definitely got his impatience. You know? But I don't get to work with the incredible talent that he's worked with.
Some pretty incredible talent.
Yeah, but you know, when you look at this and when you see what this man's the amazing artist that he worked with, you know, and what he does. Yeah, come on. No, I don't have any egos. You always did your best, but he's the man who made you do more than your best. Mm-hmm. You know, and somehow prompted you to try harder, or to become more involved emotionally in the song. And I hear that from all the artists that inadvertently these people were incredibly influential on you. You know, they gave you inspiration. Arnold was an incredible character.
Yeah.
You know? But they all were.
Yes.
They all were. Yes. This whole team of people that somehow gave birth to this kind of music.
Yeah. Do you mind talking at all about what led to the separation, or shall I not ask you about that?
The separation of what?
When you and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because it's not entirely
no,
that way. Everyone's got a different truth. You know?
Yeah.
The separation. You mean not being able to get a read?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in those days, we didn't know what was going on beyond us. Yeah. You know, we didn't know that Robert Stigwood was in fact leaving Atlanta. Yeah. And our situation was we weren't signed to a record company. We were signed to Robert Stigwood. And in those days, it was called a tape lease agreement, where we were literally signed to our manager, who then went and made the record deal. So whatever royalties you got for yourself was determined by your manager, not by the record company. So I think, and I'm only guessing, that there was a banging of shields or a conflict, and Robert decided to leave Atlanta. But we didn't know about it.
Oh, no, I knew that.
Right.
I wasn't, please, I wasn't
saying. That it's not something that we would have been aware of. We just, why can't we get a read?
Yeah.
You know? And nobody told us.
Yeah.
And suddenly we were with another record company in America, not Atlanta. And that's as much as I ever knew about it, you know? And no one ever explained to me what the crisis was. Ahmed points to it, but I don't know what it was.
It's interesting because in the Tom Dowd film, Eric Clapton says, and Eric Clapton was also on RSO, and said, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I wasn't allowed to work with Tommy Dowd anymore. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. I think it was
So Eric was probably signed to Robert Stigwood.
Yeah.
Right.
He was also on RSO.
Right.
And I think RSO was doing so well, I'm sure he wanted better terms at that point.
I think Ahmed points out that it is after all in their arena a business.
Exactly.
And, but Ahmed was different than most people, as indeed was Arif. They were artist people.
Yes.
They were artist people. And Arif was an artist.
Yes,
you know,
he was.
No matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what role he played, he was the artist.
That's very true. It's very true. Now, so they didn't work together for a while, but then you reunited in 1987, I believe, 86, 87.
Yeah.
The ESP album.
85, because You Win Again was on that album.
That's right, You Win Again was on that album.
And that was a big record for it. Not on the stage, but
no, it was #1 or like top 20 and 30 all over the world, but in America
it was a #1 record, but not America. Yeah. And then Austin came to our dressing room once and said, "We're going to re-release You Win Again." Oh, please don't. Once is enough.
And then there was Will You Still Love Me? And
yes. Tribute to Carole King.
Carole King Tapestry tribute record.